Brothers humbly requested to come close, inshallah. And we'll get the others from outside as well. We've taken a break. Inshallah. Junaid, inshallah. Come forward. Sit as close as possible, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. I'll go get the others from outside.
Come, inshallah, I won't take too long. You guys are tired, I'm tired as well. I have no topic in mind. I don't even know what I'm going to talk about. So I thought to myself, I'll keep it very, very informal. Is that what he's saying? Omar Jaib Sabe Kari Kari. Usman uncle, we've been doing it for 20 years now. So I'm sure you've had enough of 18 degrees. You've had a Jummah bayan as well by Maulana Sulaiman Sahib, mashallah. You've had a talk by Maulana Javid Sahib. You probably guys are thinking, how many bayans are we going to listen to in a day? I've had a bit of a day like that. I was in Kirkham prison for Jummah today. No, I wasn't put there. I went to do bayan there. This guy's looking at me like, what's this guy doing sitting over here? So, two places, mashallah, I think, like I said, I'll keep it very informal, very open. Okay, before I start, is there any young lad over here who probably sees so many people sitting over here? You probably see so many people reading Quran over here. You probably see so many people reading nasheeds over here. And you know what? Sometimes it inspires you as a young person that, you know what? I wish I get a chance to pray. I wish I get a chance to do a nasheed. See, I mentioned nasheed and Ismail Timal walks in. You're not doing anything, bro. Right? So, is there anybody here who's felt like that in all the programs and they think to themselves, you know what? I wish I got a chance. Is there anyone like that that wants to come here and pray? Who wants to pray? From the young lads. Not the good ones, Masab. That's what always happens, isn't it? All the best ones get picked and they come over here. Come here, beta, come on. See, I want somebody to come themselves. What are you going to do? What's your name, beta? What do you want to do? Quran or Nasheed? Quran. Okay, come and sit here. You want to sit on the... Let's sit on the chair, go on. Sit on the chair. So it feels better. It feels more real. Don't press Surah Baqarah, yeah? No. I had that one. I was in Salam last year and I said, who wants to pray Quran? This guy stood up and came. Started with Surah Fatiha. I went on to the quarter. I think I got it right for us. I go, but that's enough now.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ياسين والقرآن الحكيم إنك لمن المرسلين على صراط مستقيم تنزيل العزيز الرحيم لتنذر قوما ما أنذر آباؤهم فهم غافلون لقد حق القول على أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون إنا جعلنا في أعناقهم أغلالا فهي إلى الأذقان فهم مقمحون وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فأغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون وسواء عليهم أأنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون صدق الله العظيم.
Can tell you've not ever sat here before. You didn't know how to take the tie clip off. Huh? MashaAllah. What was I saying, Junaid? Huh? Saying about? Oh, Kirkham. Yeah, Kirkham. Yeah, I was mentioning that ever since I've graduated from Darul Uloom in Dewsbury, and that was back in 2002 when I finished, and all of 2003 I was in Jamaat. I think of the many, well, not many places, of the two places that I have probably visited year after year ever since graduating from Darul Uloom, one is your masjid, with the love, mashallah, and affection that is shown to me and my brothers by Maulana in Jassa, mashallah. And the other place I've visited very frequently is Kirkham Prison. Bar 1 or 2 years, I don't think I've missed Kirkham as well. I don't think I've missed Broadgate at all. So you guys are probably bored of seeing me and bored of hearing me anyway. So that's why I thought I'll keep this gathering very, very informal. What time is your food coming? Sorry? 10:15. Okay, so we've got bang on half an hour. Okay, inshallah. We'll finish before that, inshallah. So as I mentioned to you that I've had a manic day, so I was in Kirkham today. Sometimes, I think we take our speakers for granted, not me. You don't need to worry about me. I'm household here, yeah? But many other speakers, mashallah, that come, the sacrifices that they endure, what's happened behind a person's day, nobody really knows, And I was mentioning to somebody today when he asked me, okay, Maulana, how's your day been? So I shared with him, I said, my day was that 2 nights ago I took my little son to hospital, 4 years old, because he had a severe ear infection and he got admitted. And for some reason, I always end up in hospital in Ramzan with the children. I don't know, there's some wisdom of Allah in that. So I ended up in hospital with my 2-year-old. I ended up coming home 3 in the morning. I thought to myself, if I go to sleep, never mind Sehri, I'm going to miss Fajr as well. So we stayed awake, had Sehri, prayed Fajr, went to sleep. Wife's with the 4-year-old in hospital. So I had to wake up at 7 o'clock, 7:15 to get the rest of the kids up to go to school, obviously. So, I sometimes think to myself that Preston Muslim Girls High School and Needham Boys, mashallah, they finish early Ramzan. Why can't they start late instead? At least we get to sleep a little bit, huh? Right? But that doesn't happen. I think the teachers are more worried about getting home after school rather than coming into school. Whatever it is, anyway. So, wake up at 7 and 7:15, get the kids out for school, and then 9 o'clock, Salim Bhai will tell you we're on the road. Yeah, Usman Bhai, Maulana was just asking, do you know Usman Bhai? I'm going to say I don't know him personally. I see him here all the time, mashallah, in the first saf. Allah grant him a long life as well, mashallah. And that's a very big quality. Look, I don't know him. But what I do know, he prays his namaz in the first saf all the time. Am I mistaken in that? And I don't come here that often, but I've noticed that about him. What he also doesn't know is I might not know him, but I know where he lives. Because I'm a driving instructor. I drive past his house every day. And there's that Darbar number plate on his car that's parked outside on the corner. See? He thinks, I don't know him, but, we have to tell you lot to do observations. Obviously, we notice things as well, isn't it? Yeah? Yeah? We check our blind spots so we know who is where. Yeah? Anyway, so 9 o'clock we're on the road. Then 11 o'clock I have to go to the nurseries. I finish over there. And today, literally, I got home at 12, had a quick shower, and I had to get to Kirkham for 1:45. Came from Kirkham 2:30. I had another lesson on Broadgate. Okay, Ali, a Libyan brother, mashallah, who lives near St. Stephen's. You guys might even know him. Finished with him, and I legged it home, and I had my car wasn't working for the last 11 days. I've only just started. I can't remember the last time I had 10 days off from driving lessons, as well, I can tell you that. But I got my car back, so I had a courtesy car. I had to go and drop the courtesy car off to Enterprise. Went there, and my wife phoned that, oh, Umar's been discharged, can you come and pick us up? So then I had to go to hospital. And then I came back, and then I had to go for iftar to Eden Boys High School. Then I came back home, and then I prayed Taraweeh, and I'm here. That's my day. So don't forget me. Think about all the other speakers behind us. And one thing I will say to the young lads, and we're living in such times that we've become very, very habitual of luxury and comforts. We don't want to push ourselves. We don't want to push ourselves. I love having that little half an hour, 45-minute nap before Asr Salah. But sometimes you have to miss it. Sometimes you have to attend to other things. You have to give sacrifices. I would have loved to have stayed in my masjid now, done a 10, 15-minute program and gone home and relaxed. But duty calls. Duty calls. And mashallah, like I said, I've been coming here for almost 20-odd years, 19, 20 years. And certain actions we do on a day-to-day basis, what we don't realize, when we become so habitual of doing those good actions, I'm not on about sins or bad actions, I'm talking about good actions. When we become habitual of doing those good things on a day-to-day basis, even the angels wait for us on a daily basis to actually write that action of us. Can you imagine? Angels waiting for you lot. That, oh, he's going to pray his Quran at this time today. I'm waiting. As soon as he opens his Quran, I can write that good deed of his in his book of deeds. Or he always prays 2 rakats of nafal at this time. The angel is waiting. So that as soon as you make your wudu and you stand up, the angel is waiting to write that action of yours. So, when you become habitual of something, and this, alhamdulillah, like I said, with the love and affection, Mawli Huzaifa, Mawli Mchasa, mashallah, I've been coming here, and I guess this is a deed of mine that the angels are probably waiting to write, so why should I miss it, even though I'm so tired? But like as I was mentioning, that, we live in such times, and we live in such a world nowadays. Everything is about comfort. Everything is about luxury. And we don't want to move out of our comfort zones. We don't want to go that extra mile. Never mind for anybody else. Sometimes we don't even want to do it for ourselves. There you have your parents probably pestering you. Better read one sipara today. Better make sure you pray your namaz. Make sure you do this today. Make sure you do that today. But you're thinking to yourself, but no, that's my time for football. This is my time for this. This is my time for that. When am I going to get time to rest? I wanted to chill out. Why is he, why are they bugging me to do this and bugging me to do that? And we don't want to move out of our comfort zone. We just want to stay within. And when we do this, what we don't realize is we actually stem and we stall and we actually stop our progression from a spiritual perspective. And this is so important. Maulana Imtiaz Sahib will tell you, our Ustad Maulana Saeed Sahib always used to say this phrase to us. And you know what? You never understood it until you actually come into the real world and you start doing things for yourself. He used to say this sentence. He used to say, Jahan nafs ki intiha hoti hai, wahan ruh ki ibtida hoti hai. So when you tire your ego to a point that your ego is saying, please don't do this anymore. That's it. Fasting is enough. Taraweeh, enough now. Forget praying 2 extra rakats after Taraweeh. Forget the nafal. Just go home. It doesn't matter. You pray 20 extra rakats. Why should you pray? So your ego is telling you to do something else. You wake up, your parents are shouting at you at the time of suhoor. And they're saying to you, get up early so you can pray some tahajjud. Pray 4 rakats of tahajjud at least. You don't have to pray a full sipara. But at least pray 4 surahs from the last 10 surahs and pray some tahajjud. Make some dua. But you're thinking to yourself, I prayed Taraweeh last night for an hour and a half. Why should I pray an extra 4 rakats? Your ego is telling you, leave it, forget it, you don't need to do it. But what we don't realize is when we trample upon that ego and those instincts that are rising from within us, telling us not to do the act of good and to stay away and kind of trying to convince us that, you've done loads, you don't need to do anymore. You don't need to do anymore, right? But when you actually trample on your ego and you say, I am going to do it. No matter what, I'm going to get up a little bit early. I'm going to make wuzu. I'm going to pray those 4 rakats of tahajjud. When you actually do that, that is where your ego has been totally exhausted, and that is where your spirituality begins. That is where your spirituality begins. That's where you excel. That's now you climbing that ladder of getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is what we all want. This is what the month of Ramadan is about. This is what all this sacrifice is about. And you know, when we take upon ourselves these self-inflicted sacrifices, I'll call it. When we take upon ourselves these self-inflicted sacrifices, you know, the amount that we excel is actually beyond our imagination. And not only that, but Allah then saves us from so many hardships and difficulties we don't understand. Many years ago, when Hazrat Hafiz Sahib Rahmatullahi Alayhi was obviously alive, I traveled with him. And we went to a few different places at the time. We started off, we flew out from Gatwick. We went to Barbados. We spent about a day and a half, 2 days in Barbados. We then went to Trinidad. From Trinidad, we spent about 3 days there. We came to Venezuela. From Venezuela, we then flew to Panama. From Panama, we went to Orlando. When we were in Panama, there was a Ijtima there. MashaAllah, a lot of the South American neighboring countries, all the people had come. Colombia, Mexico, Chile, etc. They'd all, Argentina, they'd all come for this Ijtima. It was some kind of a mashwara for South America. So they were all there. But when we arrived in Panama, funny enough, there was a Jamaat there from India. And the Amir Sahib of that Jamaat was a person called Dr. Ashraf. He was my first Amir of my first Chilla when I went for my 1-year Jamaat. He was my first Amir. And we got tashkil to Ahmedabad and we spent a whole Chilla with him. He was phenomenal. He was phenomenal. I can assure you. He was a doctor. Obviously, he was a professional. But, you know, from a dini and a spiritual perspective, it's very difficult to find people that excel being non-alim in actually both areas of life, deen and also dunya. And he was one of those who excelled in everything. One of his habits, let me tell you, one of his habits was that he would not sleep at night time every single day, whether he was in Jamaat traveling or whether he was at home. He would not sleep at night time until he offered Salatul Tasbih. Who does that? Who does that every single day? Tell me who does that? We just about read it on Shab-e Barat. We find it difficult to read on Shab-e Qadr. Yeah, and we've kind of limited it to these 2 particular nights. Some people, mashallah, Allah gives them tawfiq, they read it every Friday. But who does it every single day? Can we even think about that? Can we even imagine doing it every single day? It's beyond. We probably never even thought about doing it every day. He would not sleep until he actually read Salatul Tasbih every single day. And this is what I saw him do throughout the whole 40 days. And then when obviously we questioned him, when we were sat with him once, he says, this is my mamul and this is my normal thing that I do every single day, whether I'm in Jamaat or whether I'm at home. I don't sleep, no matter how late he comes home. And no matter how late he returned from Gush whilst we were in Jamaat as well, he would not sleep until he offered his Salatul Tasbih. And this was something I saw in Hazrat Hafiz Sahib Rahmatullahi Alayhi, where he'd be traveling, you know, globe-trotting as they say, jetting around. He'd arrive in Dewsbury early hours of the morning, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, maybe Fajr's a bit later in the winter months, or even if it was the summer months. He'd come, he would have been traveling for God knows how many hours, but he wouldn't start, okay, it's late now, I've been traveling, I'll go to sleep. No. He would engage in tahajjud. Tahajjud for an hour, and then dua for an hour. And that was the norm for Hazrat Hafiz Sahib Rahmatullahi Alayhi. Can you see how these people are moving out of their comfort zones? And us today, we can't even read 2 extra rakats after Taraweeh because we find it difficult. Oh, Nafil, it's only Nafil, it's fine. I've just prayed 20 rakats of Taraweeh. Why should I pray 2 extra rakats? It's about moving out of your comfort zone. That's what life is all about. And when we do that, like I said, that's where your spirituality begins. So anyway, when we were in Panama, Dr. Ashraf Sab was there with his Jamaat. So mashallah, it was quite a surprise to meet him, and obviously I was elated. He was my first Abi. We had a very good bond and a good connection, and mashallah, he showed me a lot of love when we were in Jamaat as well. So we were in Panama. We spent a couple of days there. I've got, mashallah, 1 or 2 classmates from Panama, so when I was there, they really pampered me as well. And then I remember that the evening before we were going to fly out to Orlando, 2 of my classmates, one of them has become marhum now, may Allah Ta'ala fill his qabr with nur, he came to me. They came to me and they said, okay, Riyaz, come on, we're going to go out to eat somewhere. I said, okay, no problem. So mashallah, when the program's finished, we went out to eat. So they took me to eat. So we went out. Now you guys are going to think, where did Maulana go? Went to a Lebanese. Faisal, stop looking at me like that. Yeah. Went to a Lebanese restaurant. Yeah. So we went there. And before we were going, typically whenever you travel, you'll always take some extra snacks, whether it's nuts or chocolates or crisp or whatever it may be. But whenever you travel with Havisab, you were never short on food. Yeah, food was there. What you didn't get was sleep. There was total sleep deprivation. Hardly, especially when you're there for khidmat, you're waking up before Havisab wakes up, you're going to sleep after Havisab goes to sleep. And obviously sleep is very, very scarce. So you get really, really exhausted and tired. That was the norm, and we were used to it. Anyway, so I took all these snacks with me, thinking that, I'll give it out, do ikram and whatever. If I feel a bit peckish, then always I can eat from it as well. But it so happens that, like I said, when you're with Havisab, you're eating so much that you're not going to use any of the snacks that you've got. So there I was, dragging all these snacks from one country to another. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm carrying all this excess weight. Not me, my bags, yeah? Yeah? And this guy, why are you looking at me like that for, man? Right. Okay. So, I'm carrying all this excess weight. And I thought to myself, I might as well give it to somebody. So then I thought to myself, Dr. Saab's Jamaat had just arrived in Panama, and they were going to do Colombia, Mexico. They were going to be there for 4 months. So I thought to myself, I might as well give it as a hadiah to the Jamaat. They can use it, or they can give it out, use it as ikram for the satis and the people that they meet when they go to the different masajid. So the Jamaat was staying in a room upstairs in a masjid where we were in Panama. So I said to my 2 classmates, Maulana Abdul Aziz and Maulana Anwar Marhum, come on, let's just go and meet Dr. Saab and go and give him this. And I might not see him in the morning because we had a flight early hours of the morning. So he says, okay, no problem, let's go and give him that first and then we'll go. So we went upstairs. When we went upstairs, what was Dr. Saab doing? He was in namaz. What was he praying? Salatul Tasbih. Obviously I saw him. Dr. Saab's in namaz. I said, okay, fine. So I asked the satis that were in the room that Dr. Saab Salatul Tasbih pade. And they looked at me like this, thinking, how does this guy know? So I said, okay, unko kehna ke main milne ke liye aaya tha. Let him know that I came to meet him. And inshallah, we're just going out. When we come back, if he's still awake, I'll come and meet him then. So they said, okay, no problem. And the stuff I had, I gave it to one of the satis. I said, take this. This is for your Jamaat. Use it yourselves and give it out to whoever you meet when you're out in Tashkil, whatever. Just let Dr. Saab know that I came to see him. So then we went. And after like an hour and a half, 2 hours, we came back. And then I said to my 2 satis again, my classmates, said, let's go upstairs, see if Dr. Saab's awake. So we went upstairs. And as we went upstairs, we opened the door. The lights were shut. We didn't know. So we opened the door. And then as soon as we saw the lights shut, we closed the door again because they were sleeping. We didn't want to disturb them. But as soon as I opened the door, Dr. Saab sat up and he said, Beta Riyaz, aa jao. I said, come inside. So I said, Dr. Saab, look, sorry, nahi, koi baat nahi, abhi hum lete hai, aap aa jao, come inside. And he said to one of the satis, switch the light on. So I went inside, I sat with him. And then I kind of poked him a little bit. I said, Dr. Saab, wo Salatul Tasbih wala maamul abhi jari hai aapka. I said, that amal of yours where you read Salatul Tasbih every single night, are you still practicing this? He says, tujhe abhi yaad hai, you still remember that I pray, huh? I said, yeah. He goes, haan beta, abhi jari hai. And then he said something to me, and this is what I want to, this is the whole reason for the backdrop of everything I've explained to you. And then he said this jumla, this sentence to me. He says, beta, when I was young like you, he says, like you're doing khidmat of Hazrat Hafiz Sahib Rahmatullah Alayh, I used to do khidmat of Bhai Fazle Kareem. Those of you that are from Gujarat will know who Bhai Fazle Kareem was. MashaAllah, a very renowned individual for his effort in the work of Tabligh and Dawat. And he was actually known as Sahib-e-Karamat. He was a person that used to show you miracles, literally in front of you, he'd show you miracles. An uncle of mine who lives in Bombay, who spend time with him, he used to often tell me stories. And he used to always say to me that, by Fazl Kareem, there was somebody one of his sons or daughters was getting married. So he said to one of his sons, okay, go to the shop and go and buy so much dal and go and buy so much chawal, dal and rice. And he said, only bring this much. So he'd invited so many people to the actual walima or wedding or whatever it was. But the amount that he told the son to bring was very, very nominal. Probably just about enough to feed one family. And he's thinking to himself, okay, my dad's gone crazy. He's invited so many people, just coming back with this much rice and this much dal. What's he going to do for people? That's not going to be enough for the amount of people that are coming. So on purpose, he bought a little bit more. They weren't very wealthy. They didn't have like excess amount of wealth. So he didn't buy exactly, so we've got 60 heads coming, so we need enough for 60 people. He just bought a little bit extra because they couldn't afford it. So anyway, he comes back with this amount and he gives it to the cook that cooked this, dal chawal or whatever. And then the people came and ate, and so much was left over. So much was left over. And then Bhai Fazl Kareem called his son and said to him, who told you to bring extra? He knew. He knew. So I didn't tell you to bring extra. What you bought would have been enough. That's the kind of guy he was. So Dr. Sahib is telling me that I used to do khidmat of Bhai Fazl Kareem. And this is again, he now then divulged some information to me, which he never told us in the whole chilla. And he turned around and he said to me, Beta, he says, I've got khilafat from Bhai Fazl Kareem. He never told us this. When we were with him for 40 days, he didn't want to flaunt his own credentials and his status and his kind of like accolades and achievements, that I've got khilafat from such and such a person. He didn't tell us this all 40 days. At that time, after so many years, I'm meeting him and now he's telling me that Bhai Fazl Kareem gave me khilafat. And then he said, Bhai Fazl Kareem used to always say to us that आदमी जब कोई इख्तियारी मुजाहदा बर्दाश्त करता है, when you take upon yourself some self-inflicted hardship, Allah उसको गैर इख्तियारी मुजाहदे से बचा लेते हैं. Allah Ta'ala then saves him from a sacrifice, a difficulty that Allah was going to place upon him. Allah takes that difficulty away from that individual. Why? Because you've already made some form of sacrifice for the sake of Allah. You hear the azan over the receiver at your home, in your homes. And then there is everybody in the background, especially your mother is probably pestering you. Go to the masjid and pray namaz. And now you're thinking to yourself, yeah, mom, but I can pray namaz at home. Why do I need to go to the masjid? I'll just pray at home. Now your ego is telling you don't need to go. Shaitan is telling you don't need to go. Just pray at home, no problem. You're still praying, eh? But then if you break the shackles of shaitan and you break the shackles of your own ego, and then you decide that, you know what, it's cold outside, it's raining, it's wet, yeah, and it's a bit of a walk, but I'm going to put my coat on, I'm going to take my brolly, and I'm going to walk to the masjid. That walking to the masjid and coming to the masjid, where you have now come to offer your salah with jamaat, you are taking upon yourself a self-inflicted sacrifice. Even though namaz is farz, we still have to pray. We have to pray. Jamaat is so important. What did Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam say? That my heart wishes that I gather a group of youngsters, ask them to gather a heap of firewood, and then I go around burning down the houses of those people that don't offer their salah with jamaat. Is that something small? Is that something nominal? We hear this hadith all the time in Talim. We hear this hadith all the time when we go out in Jamaat. But we think to ourselves that, no, it's fine, I can pray my namaz at home. We're in our workplaces, we've got a masjid around the corner. Okay, there may be some restrictions from work, but is it really that difficult that you can walk to the masjid which is nearby to your workplace and you can offer your salah inside of that particular masjid with Jamaat? We're all guilty of this. We're all guilty of this. Is it really difficult? You could be in any corner of Preston and you'll find a masjid to pray. But we think to ourselves, no, it's fine, when I get home I'll pray it then. And we don't want to, like I said, move out of our comfort zones. We want to stay within that safe and comfort zone and keep living that life of luxury, not break the shackles of shaitan and remove the shackles of our ego and just keep doing, what we're normally used to doing and keeps us kind of happy from within. And we think that that's actually keeping us happy. But what we don't realize is we are actually stunting our own spiritual growth. That's what we're doing. So when a person takes upon himself a self-inflicted sacrifice for the sake of Allah, Allah automatically saves you from a hardship, a calamity, and a sacrifice that He was going to place upon you. Why? Because you've already made that sacrifice. You know, what do our elders say? You know, a person who wakes up, and hadith we hear it, that person who comes to Fajr, he returns home with the flag of Islam. He becomes a flag bearer of Islam. And then that person who then offers, 4 rakats of Ishraq after Fajr Salah, Allah makes all of his endeavors and his work easy for that day. This is one of the virtues of offering Ishraq Salah. Why? Because you took on that self-inflicted sacrifice of offering that Ishraq Salah. So Allah will say, you know what, you did this for me, I'll take away all your hardships for the day. I will make everything easy for you. And that's what it's about. So, especially the young people, we live in an age of iPads. And I think I'd probably call you lot iLads. And we have to become iDads because of you lot as well. Yeah? So iPads, iLads, and iDads now. That's the world we live in, and that's the age we're in. So it's so important that you guys understand this. Growing up, and remember one thing, you guys have got the amenities that other people didn't have. Yeah? How long have I been coming to this masjid to do bayan? Maybe 2-3 years? Yeah? Until then, where were we? In a small little masjid, long, it was probably just about 4 meters wide, 5 meters wide. Ismail, Ashraf bhai, what was the size?
The size was about 6 meters by 2.5.
Only 2.5 meters. I thought it was 3-4 meters. So we had 8 musallas there. Well, there you are. Yeah? So you guys are so lucky. The sacrifices have already been made. You have a fantastic facility, And just today, when I was at Eden, mashallah, one of the guys was saying that, mashallah, Broadgate, so active. You've got bayan after bayan after bayan. We're getting bored of seeing Ismail's posters. I get the same poster on about 5 different groups from him. Yeah? But that's the way the world is now. Yeah? He's a proper idad, isn't he? Yeah? So that's what life is all about. He clogs my memory up. 2 people clog my memory, Ismail and my mother as well. Yeah? So that's the way it is. But you guys are so lucky that so many things have been made easy for you. But let not that ease and comfort kind of pin you down to a point where you no longer even think about making sacrifices or moving out of your comfort zones. Because if you don't excel spiritually. Who are the people that excel spiritually in the month of Ramadan? Just today, mashallah, Maulana Junaid Ingar was actually delivering, just a bit of nasiha at the end of the event that I attended in Eden today. And many of our pious predecessors, when you went to their khanqa in the month of Ramadan, you went for spiritual reform, and you went there for i'tikaf, or you went there to go and spend some time with those, mashallah, elders and those buzurgs, so that, you can kind of, draw from their knowledge and their spirituality, and hopefully their spirituality kind of rubs off on you, and you become, you're able to kind of, those angelic qualities that are within us. Each and every individual has them. They tend to then prevail, and they become prevalent rather than the satanic kind of qualities that exist within each and every individual. So their rule was in the month of Ramadan. What did they say? Eat as much as you want, sleep as much as you want, but don't do 2 things. Yeah? Don't talk too much. Don't talk. And in these khanqahs in those days, it was very strict. Don't talk. They hated 2 people actually even sitting together, because that becomes an occasion of socializing, and then you're going to start talking, and the conversation is going to lead from one thing to another, and that totally defeats the objective and the essence of being in that place of self-reformation. So what did they say? What did they say? Don't. Can you keep that bottle still, beta, whoever it is? Yeah? So what did they say? Don't talk too much. Don't gather. Don't gather in gatherings. But unfortunately, we do completely the opposite. This is how they used to spend their Ramadan. Now, okay, sometimes we can't go to those levels. But at least thinking about, today you don't even need to sit with anybody else to waste time. The only person we sit with now is who? Your mobile phones. Yeah? And that's what it is. You sit on that and you're wasting hours on end. And we don't even realize it, that we're wasting time. So it's so important that we move out of our comfort zones. And we understand that until we don't actually do this, we are not going to excel spiritually. It's so important that we, learn to move out of our comfort zones. And it could be simple things, helping out in the masjid. When they're laying out the dastarkhan for iftar, going out, maybe giving out khajur, giving out water. When it comes to a little bit of cleanliness, mashallah, helping out, doing some safai. That is you moving out of your comfort zones. When there's talim, come and sit in the talim. When there's gush, take part in the gush. When there's jamaats in your masjid, go out with them, take them to meet your friends. That's you moving out of your comfort zone. And when you do move out of your comfort zone, that's when you tend to then build yourself spiritually. That's what it's all about. So my message for today is that learn to sacrifice. Learn to sacrifice. And remember, when you sacrifice for the sake of Allah, Allah will save you from difficulties and calamities and sacrifices that He had planned to place upon you. And automatically you'll be saved from those difficulties. Everybody will do this, inshallah. Yeah, so a very different kind of a bayan today. Yeah, like I said. Yeah. So, make the most of the time that Allah has given you. Make the most of the time that Allah has given you. I sit over here, and just a few months ago, I see Faisal sat right in front of me. He's one of my students. And I remember standing in Quwwatul Islam in the ghusl khana, giving ghusl to one of my other students, and that was Umar. I taught him to drive. You guys are going to say to him, what's up, you didn't teach him properly. I can tell you something, that child was $1 million. That child was $1 million. And trust me, I've been doing this job for 21 years. Yeah? I've come across many youngsters. But when you meet somebody who's so genuine, who's so loving, who's so caring, who's so passionate, the only, I think, flaw that he had was he was a scum fan. That was about it. Yeah? But even that was a good thing because we could have some discussion in the car. Yeah? And we used to, and unfortunately, they're not doing so well. So, it was my moments in the car with him, basically. But he was such a beautiful kid. And I say, wallahi, to this day, when I'm driving up and down that road, I remember him. And I've not forgotten him. And I remember standing, by his bedside when they were giving ghusl to him in Quwwatul Islam. He was with me for, not even probably 5-6 months. But we had such a bond and we were so close that I remember him till today. You guys are still young. He was young. He just started his apprenticeship. And I remember, he was thinking about his future, mashallah, that Maulana, I want to pass, so then, wherever I get my apprenticeship, I can get there easily, etc., etc. And he did. He was fulfilling his ambitions, only for his ambitions to be cut short. Unfortunately, Umar and Adam, Allah took them away early. But they were good lads. They went in Jamaat the week before. They did Ta'aleem after Maghrib on that same day. And then after Isha, Allah decided that, boys, that's it, your time's up. And Allah took them away. But this is what it is. Learn from those youngsters as well. They weren't normal individuals, I can tell you. And I don't say this about every youngster. People I get in my car, I can't wait to drop them back off sometimes. And that's the way it is. Yeah? And unfortunately, you come across all different types of people. Some, you don't even know where the hour's gone. Some you think, what, I wish this guy I was teaching him for the whole day. But that's the way life is. Yeah? So learn. Don't waste your time. Nobody knows. Just yesterday, I was in hospital. I went to see my son after Taraweeh Salah. And whilst I was there, my brother Maulana Zakir, who's traveling for Umrah, and he goes, mashallah, every year in Ramadan. And he goes with 2 of his friends. He goes with a brother called Zakir and a brother called Suhail. And Suhail is actually very close to him. So he texts on the group. Suhail, 41, 42 years old? Also, he lives in front of you? Well, he used to live in front of you. Yeah? And what happens? He sends a message that he's got chest pains and, basically he's gone in for examination and doing ECG, etc. on him. And the chest pains happened the night before. And then he was in A&E yesterday night. And as I finished from my son and I was leaving, obviously because they shut the main entrance after 9:30 or something, you've got to then exit out of A&E. So there I was walking through the corridor. When I brought my son in the day before, mashallah, it was really calm. Yes, last night when I was walking through there, it was like a war zone. It was rammed with people. And as I was walking through, Maulana Zakir, my brother, was stood there. The other friend, Zakir, was stood there. They both called Zakir. And Suhail, who basically suffered the cardiac kind of issue, he was sat there. And they're all looking like, Riyaz is coming, Maulana Riyaz is coming. So then I walked up to them and they're like, oh, did you come to see Umar? I said, yeah. And I said, well, Huchu, I said, what's the matter? He said, Maulana, I had chest pains, the night before. And he goes, I was vomiting. And it started at 11. Well, it started in Taraweeh, he was saying it. And he often prays his namaz in Masjide-E-Salah. He said it started in Taraweeh, went home, from 11 o'clock onwards, it got a little bit more intense. And I was then, chest pains really heavy, couldn't talk, sweating. I was like with my top off, stood by the window, but even then I was sweating. I was vomiting, and it carried on till about 5 o'clock in the morning. Next day he wakes up, he rings Zakir, not my brother, the other Zakir, and he says, well, this is what happened to me last night. So he said, you need to get yourself checked. So he rang Dr. Zakir. All Zakirs here. Huh? He rang Dr. Zakir. Yeah? And Dr. Zakir said, send him straight away. I'm about to go on some home visits, but I'll quickly do his bloods and do an ECG on him. The ECG came back clear, but the bloods were sent off for testing. Obviously, that takes a couple of hours. So anyway, he went through the procedure, came back home, and then he must have gone to Sainsbury's later that day in the evening, and he was shopping in Sainsbury's, and the nurse rings him. And the nurse says to him, where are you? He says, well, I'm shopping in Sainsbury's. So she said, well, you better drop your shopping and get yourself to hospital, because your bloods are not showing good. Your results are not good. So he's like, well, what do you mean? What's the matter? So then she turned around and said that, is it tripolline or tarpaulin or something, some level that they measure when you've had a heart attack in your bloods. He says that is showing very, very high. So then he went to the hospital, and that's when I met him. He'd been there probably for a while, and then I met him, as I was coming out of A&E. But that's life. There's no guarantees in life. He's already had a procedure in Blackpool today, and he was supposed to be traveling for Umrah on Monday. What certainty is there in life? He goes every year. It must have been going for the last 15 odd years. And this year, unfortunately, Allah didn't wish for him to come. So he's had this issue and now he's recovering in hospital. So make the most of your life. Adam and Umar, mashallah, young lads, 18, 17. They had their whole lives ahead of them. But Allah decided to take them away. Make the most of the life that Allah has given you. Move out of your comfort zone. Sacrifice those luxuries. Sacrifice for the deen. Sacrifice for your communities, for the masjid. And that is when you will build yourself spiritually. May Allah Ta'ala grant us all the tawfiq to understand the essence of this month, spiritual month. May He grant us the tawfiq to build our spirituality. May Allah Ta'ala grant us a genuine bond and connection with our Creator and with our beloved Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.
To thank Maulana Riyaz Dola for once again accepting our invite. It's like every year he's expecting, as soon as the text is Maulana, he knows, it's a text from me. Alhamdulillah, Allah Ta'ala bless him, Allah Ta'ala elevate him, Allah Ta'ala grant him the best of health. Alhamdulillah, I mean. Jazakumullah everybody for sitting. MashaAllah, we had a good time. Is it food time? Anybody? Upstairs, yes, everybody go upstairs. Is it for everybody or just the youngsters, or then he rules me and Maulana Riyaz out if he's just for you? Is it? It's for everybody, is it? Amadu halo ka dekhe nahi male ho. Okay, jazakumullah. Okay, wa alaikum assalam. Alhamdulillah.